I beg, play song for me.
Please, I'm trying to promote him to panel. He's declining it. So I chatted him already.
Yeah, they are trying to promote. Yeah, so accept something like
Yes. Johnny.
Yeah, Dr. Kelechi, can you confirm that you can hear us?
Yes, I can. Thank you. Good morning, everybody.
Yeah, good morning. So we are about to start this conversation. The panel is on historicizing the dynamics of Igbo global economic and entrepreneurship growth and development in the 21st century. So I have my co-panelists joining us online in the person of Dr. Kelechi Ani, Dr. Ajibola Abdurrahman is unavoidably absent or will be unavoidably absent. So the two of us will try to have this conversation with the contributors to this panel. So if I call your name and you are here or you are joining online, kindly let us know. The first paper that we have with us here is the impediment of MSMEs growth, a call for transformative breakthrough by Amare Abawa, Esubale, and Sunday Abayomi Adebisi. I hope if I didn't get the name correct, please pardon me. I don't know if we have the paper presenter here. All right. The second is the development of Igbo entrepreneurship in urban space in the former southern Cameroon, 1922 to 1900, by Ngome Elvis Ngome. I don't know if we have him here. All right. The third paper is on informal Igbo diaspora remittance, lifeline to homeland economic development, a case study of the Igbo community in Cotonou and Republic by Uche Chukwu Chima. I don't know if you are here. Okay, thank you very much. The last but not the least is on the Igbo entrepreneurial culture by Daniel Zero of Nnamdi Azikiwe University. I don't know if he is here. Okay, if you are here, can you come to this place so that now check the email and download the email for the slide to this LSA email. But can you? You have your flash, right? I give them. Which of the emails? Oh, this is 9. Okay, we send it to the. I thought we send. So, Dr. Uche, sorry, Dr. Kelechi, you can also make your introductory remark while we sort out the PowerPoint slides. Thank you.
Okay. In a very special way, I want to welcome all the presenters in this panel to our panel presentation. It promises to be a very engaging exercise. And as much as possible, whether you are presenting live or visually, we will want you to be very objective. We will also want you to be very, very relaxed. Make your points as clear as possible. Raise your arguments. Sustain it very clearly. Back it up with evidence of your scholarship. And we will be there to review it, to accept it, to support it, to critique it. Overall, our ultimate goal is to enrich the global knowledge economy, both for ourselves that are in this panel and for every other person attending the conference physically and visually, and to the wider reading audience. So I once again want to welcome you and thank you for making it to this conference. Thank you very much. Feel at home as we do scholarship.
Yes, okay. Thank you very much, Dr. Kelechi. Yeah, so I think we have this one is off now. Okay, so we'll start off with the Igbo and entrepreneurial culture by Dr. Daniel Nzerogu of Nnamdi Azikiwe University. Thank you. You have the floor.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So I'm looking at the entrepreneurial culture and undying identity of the Igbo. So what I aim to do here is to analyze how the entrepreneurial culture of the Igbo people have sustained them through the different epochs, from the pre-colonial era to the colonial era and to the post-colonial era, and how this culture has become an integral part of their existence. Now, culture is a people's way of life. It has to do with their worldviews, belief system, customs, which influence and determine their decisions and actions. The culture of a people affects their perception of life and shapes their identity as a people. So the entrepreneurial culture, on the other hand, entrepreneurship is the process of making gains from novel and distinctive areas, as well as quality arrangement of resources. It has to do with the process in which an entrepreneur combines and manages other factors of production in order to thrive and maximize profit. So the aim of an entrepreneur is to maximize profit, to create wealth, to multiply resources. So the Igbo people has imbibed this entrepreneurial culture, which has enabled them to survive, the different adversities and challenges they have faced as a people. So entrepreneurship relates to the capacity to tax one's survival instincts to eke out a living from limited resources, maximizing profit and expanding frontiers for investment. So entrepreneurship, the argument here is that entrepreneurship is one of the main factors that have enabled the Igbo as a group to survive, given the challenges they have faced. So the Igbos are one of the ethnic nationalities we have in Nigeria. They predominantly occupy the southeastern part of Nigeria. Their worldviews and beliefs is such that inclines them to always strive to expand, irrespective of how little their startup may be. So it can be asserted that entrepreneurship is a fundamental aspect of the Igbo culture. Now, I want to look at some aspects of the Igbo entrepreneurial worldview or culture by looking at some of Igbo parlance that explains their worldview. Number one is the saying that Onyero Olie, which means if one works, he will eat. So the Igbo worldview encourages hard work in order to earn a living. You have to work to earn a living. Another saying is that Adeano Otuebe Ekiri Maun, which means the masquerade is not viewed only from one spot. So with this, it shows that the worldview of the Igbos encourages the need for multiple streams of income. We don't stay in one place to view, the masquerade. So you have to put your hands in different, sources of revenue with the aim of multiplying wealth, increasing resources. The last one I have here is that which means that a child that washes his hands clean dines with the elders. It is a motivating factor why an average Igbo man would work extremely hard to make wealth so as to be counted among the greats in the community. So he works hard so that he will be recognized. There is that pride factor in them. They want to be counted. So they work hard, to belong to a certain class of people in society. So these are the worldviews that has shaped the entrepreneurial instincts in an average Igbo person. So the objective of this study is to highlight how the entrepreneurial culture of the Igbo has remained their unchanging attributes from generation to generation through the pre-colonial era up to the contemporary times. It will also throw light on how the undying identity of the Igbo has enabled them as a people to survive and thrive in the various struggles and challenges they have faced. And will also highlight on the entrepreneurial strides of a few Igbo entrepreneurs. So first, the entrepreneurial culture as an unchanging or undying attribute of the Igbo. The study or the history and economic system of the Igbos can be studied under three major heads, which include agriculture, trading, and manufacturing. Each of these three main categories of economic activity have played an important part in the survival of the Igbo as a group and in determining the character and quality of their entrepreneurial culture. Now, from the pre-colonial era up till the present times, these three headings has been the focus of their entrepreneurial activities. Now, agriculture has been there. Every family from the pre-colonial era, I need to state that at that point, the pre-colonial era, access to land, wasn't a problem like we have it today. Every family has access to land, and it encouraged agriculture and food production. So they were able to sustain themselves through agriculture. Then trading was an appendage to agriculture. Every man produces his own food. Now, the excess they produce, the aim is to have excess. The excess they produce is for trading. Although there are some groups in the Igbo nation that were known for trading, like the Arab people. They moved from place to place, and trade was the motivating factor of their movements. There is no part of Igbo land now today you will not see the Arab people, and it was because of trade. The manufacturing has been there, but it wasn't as elevated as agriculture and trade. But manufacture has been there. Also that's blacksmithing. Is very popular in Oka. But the problem with manufacturing is that it was truncated by colonialism, the arrival of the Europeans. They encourage more of agricultural production. They preferred, because of the economic system run by colonial economic system, it did not encourage much of manufacturing, because manufactured products were encouraged to be imported into the country, while raw materials are produced from here to be exported. So manufacturing did not grow at the same pace with the other two. But the issue is that currently effort at manufacturing is growing among the Igbos. Today we have a vehicle manufacturing company in Igbo land, in Nnewi, owned by Innocent. So these three headings has been the base of the entrepreneurial strides of the Igbo people. Now, and it has helped them to survive the odds. So surviving the odds, like earlier noted, entrepreneurship involves the capacity to tax on one's survival instincts to eke out a living. The Igbo businessmen and entrepreneurs have suffered, over the years, have suffered heavy setbacks, especially during the Nigerian Civil War, when they lost most of their investments and savings, across the country. But they were able to survive it and bounce back due to their entrepreneurial mindset and worldview. Now, entrepreneurship, according to Koofman and Dent, has certain features. Number one is flexibility and adaptation, to change. So, yes, they suffered setback, but they were able to adapt. They were flexible enough, and they achieved that through communality and the apprenticeship system, as well as the think home policy. The communality among the Igbo people enabled them, after the Civil War, when they suffered so many losses, the families came together. The little resources they still have, they combine it together and support a member of the family, in business to grow. Once he gets established, he comes back, pick another member of the family and trains him in that line of trade. That was how the entrepreneurship system, started in Igbo land. After the Nigerian Civil War, they started helping themselves. And they also encouraged the think home policy. Having suffered losses in different parts of the country, they felt it is safer to invest at home. So this was how this was how they adapted to the change. This was how they became flexible, to adapt to the change, that occurred. Then the next feature of an entrepreneur is innovation. This is seen in the way Innocent Chukwuma displayed entrepreneurial leadership and engaged in the process of creative destruction when he decided to cease from importation of full motorcycles, but rather dismantle them and only import the metallic components, while he then produces the plastic components of the motorcycles here in Nigeria. That was how Innocent started, production of automobiles. First of all, he dismantled he started by importation, but through innovation, he dismantled what he imported, engaged in importing the metallic components, and Innocent has a plastic manufacturing company. So the plastic components of the automobile he started producing it. So creating employment and more avenues for wealth creation. That's innovation. And then dynamic risk-taking is another feature of an entrepreneur. This trait enabled Innocent Chukwuma to take the risk by venturing into an area where no African had ventured before, which is the manufacturing of vehicles from start to finish. Today, the Innocent group, the vehicle they are manufacturing is completely manufactured here. Some people think it's just an assembling plant. It's not. they are in May with the man from start to finish, in fact, and it's a very big risk to embark on such projects, but that's one of the attributes of an entrepreneur. So these attributes is what has helped the Igbo businessmen and women to survive through the challenges they faced. Hence, the features of flexibility, adaptation to change, innovation, and dynamic risk-taking are attributes of the Igbo culture and worldview that have enabled them to survive and thrive through the odds and challenges. And they have made some achievements. A key achievement of Igbo entrepreneurs in the establishment is the establishment of thriving industries and manufacturing companies. One of them is Innocent Nigerian Limited, the first indigenous vehicle manufacturer. We have Chikasin, producer of engine oil, vegetable oil, and other products. And all these industries are situated, first in the east. They have branches in other parts of Nigeria, but they started in the east, pointing to the think home policy, which was one of the things that enabled them to survive the setback that they experienced. So in conclusion, the culture and the worldview of the Igbo people are such that incline them to always strive to expand, irrespective of how little their startup may be. Igbo people all over work hard to transform economic resources that is available to them, starting in a point of less production to a point of more production. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for this wonderful Igbo entrepreneurial culture. Yeah. What yeah. We have. Yeah. Presentation.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you for this opportunity to share this knowledge. So my topic is on informal Igbo diaspora remittance, lifeline to homeland economic development, a case study of the Igbo community in Cotonou. As we all know, migration has always been an integral part of mankind, as in since time immemorial, in search of new geographical environment to satisfy their and sustain needs. And we all know that the Igbo people are very good at migrating from their homeland, moving from one country to another to generate enormous economic, social, and cultural implication in both sending and receiving countries. They like remitting money to the countries where they are coming from to develop their places. In the contemporary Nigeria situation, particularly the Igbo people, the primary aim of migration is motivated by the need to find a greener pasture outside the country. We all know what's happening at this particular time, the Japa syndrome and the rest of it. But it didn't start now. right from time. And this paper attempts to examine the role of Igbo diaspora informal remittance from Benin Republic and the impact of international migration on the development of the land. So moving from one country of origin to another generates economic and social and cultural implication in both the sending and receiving countries. The primary aim of Igbo migration, I believe, as I've stated earlier, is motivated. They are motivated to go find a greener pasture so they can help people who are at home. So the factors that can cause all these things is the push and pull factor. And majority of those Igbo people in Benin Republic, their first movement was after the civil war that really affected everyone in the eastern part of Nigeria, and it really made them to move. So there are also push and pull factors, the economic factor, the political factor, the social, education, and employment factor. And most of them got into there and got into serious business. And although they are far from home in other countries, especially in Benin Republic, which is a nearby country, there is still a close tie relationship maintained between these Igbo diasporas and their homeland, and one of which is the remittance. So we have two different remittance that happens between these people. We have the formal remittance that goes through the formal channel, wherein we have maybe people who are in charge of getting money, like through the formal source, the banking system, and everything to get money across for the general development of the people in the land. And then we have the informal source, which I'm concentrating on, the informal source of this remittance. And how is it being done? Let me say, Mr. A lives in Benin Republic with Mr. B, and Mr. B is going back to the village, let's say in Anambra, and Mr. A says, oh, you're going to the village. Oh, I want to give you 100,000 CFA to change to Naira. Please take this 100,000 Naira and CFA and CFA and change to Naira. Whatever you get from it, can you give it to so person or so family to do this or do that? And this is the informal remittance that happens. It's not going to the formal body for maybe general development or anything. So this individual informal remittance, how has it developed this particular place in Nigeria? So the migration trajectory can be categorized into the pre-colonial slave trade time, the colonial, that's the formation of Igbo State Union, and the post-colonial war. So we have I looked into the migration of the Igbo people to Cotonou, the Igbo communities in Cotonou, and the location of the Igbo businesses in Cotonou. We have the Misebo. We have Misebo Market and Semekpoji, the new place. Then what has this thing done? What has the informal remittance done? It has enhanced visibility and recognition within the people living there, and it has determined the promotion of communalism among them over there. So what are the Igbo businesses that they are involved in that place? We have the Okreka business, the car importations, utensils, electronics. These are the things that all go on there. And then sometimes the beautiful things about this informal remittance is that sometimes they can even import some things like some Okreka clothes and everything. They'll sort it out there, they'll package it in different places and send home to the Igbo land for some people, for some of their family members to take hold of, maybe do the business over there wherever, yes, to sell it, then use it to take care of the family base at home. So this remittance and development in Igbo land are being done by monetary remittance, building new homes and renovating existing ones, electrification projects, community development projects, setting up shop to sell commodities by these diaspora family members, and then contributions when there is death and funeral rites and interments. So what is the research objective, research question I want to ask in this part is that with the economic meltdown in this our present time, is this informal remittance still viable? Is the desire to make fast well by the younger generation fostering this informal Igbo diaspora remittance? And the main objective of the study is just to see how the informal Igbo diaspora remittance I've already looked at how it has significantly contributed to development, but how is it still ongoing? Is there still development? Are people still staying back in the village, or they also want to go and find a green pasture, just like the other people? And in conclusion, the informal remittance of Igbo diaspora in Cotonou to the development of the family, in particular, and Igbo land in general, was a thrust of this research. And these funds have increasingly, or the things that they send back has increasingly been identified as an important source of external capital for the homeland development. The group had built and fostered better relationship and sustained institutional collaboration between the Igbo diaspora and their hometown for the overall development benefits. So we want to know if these things are still ongoing and how well are they still doing it. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much for these wonderful presentations that we have listened to. And I want to believe that some of us will have our questions. I confirm if there are other people attending online that may want to present papers. Okay, so we have the session to assess. Dr. Kelechi, will you want to handle the question and answer section? If you are still there.
I will, but
Yeah,
you give me signals when to come in.
Okay,
Are we taking?
Go ahead.
Are we taking the two questions and answers? That is questions, comments for the first two papers now, so that I come in.
Yes, we can do that, and also contributions that may shape the papers.
It's okay. Thank you very much. I would want to go back to Dr. Daniel Nzerogo. Dr. Nzerogo, are you there?
I am there.
God bless you. I'm still trying to do a linguistic interpretation of the concept of Nzerogo, but that is not for this conference now. We shall come back to that. Your paper, I would want to, normally what I do is to give a general comment so that I don't keep repeating myself. And in my own academic culture, I try to look at loopholes first that will strengthen a work than killing the work. The first problem I have with is with your title and the fact that the title is left boundless, as they call it in philosophy. Igbo entrepreneurship culture. This title will be studied forever and ever, as long as there is an Igbo man. Because that entrepreneurship culture is still even emerging more outside this classroom we are having, whether it's a visual class or a physical class. So, and you said in your objective and introductory speech that the study will cover the pre-colonial, the colonial, and post-colonial. The truth is that while you have tried to do justice to that, you can hardly deliver on that because of the scope. But listening to you, You talked extensively on pre-colonial Igbo agriculture, blacksmithing, and then you went into the modern day entrepreneurship, focusing on innocent business and chikasm. I would think that to make your work easier, you could compare innocent business and chikasm businesses to get one paper, while you look at pre-colonial blacksmithing that is neglected, according to you, to produce another paper. But to me, the most interesting thing in your paper, which for me can also give you another paper, is the Igbo worldview and entrepreneurship. You raised 3 of them. Onye ruo orie, looking at possibly the manufacturing, the blacksmithing, the agricultural perspective. Adịghị anọ ebe kere, adịghị anọ otu ebe kiri mmanwụ. For our audience who are not Igbo, the onye ruo orie means simply that if you don't work, you should not eat. And if you are a Christian, it agrees with the Christian maxim that he who should not work, the lazy man should not eat. And I want to believe there is no lazy man in this conference or in this our section, because this panel, if you are there, then you shouldn't eat at all for the next few years. Then, for me, looks more like a migrant theory buying the entrepreneurship philosophy. That is, you must move from one place to another, working to see where you get the luck to succeed. And the hard work philosophy. But Doc, I would have wanted you to look at others. There are other ones that are even more central. I will be interested in developing a paper with you on this. This one is very interesting to me. That is to say that the members of this panel, when they go to sell in the morning and there is no sale, they could wait till afternoon and keep the persevering trading and entrepreneurial spirit up. 2, you will also hear people say, Otu, main market or chanja. That is to say that the great market anywhere doesn't know that one particular person did not attend the market for that day. 3, a very, very beautiful product sells itself. And finally, onye nwere mmadụ ka onye nwere ego. Onye nwere mmadụ, he who has a great person, strong network, is stronger than a man who has a lot of money, because business is about your network. Having said this, I do not know, because I've noticed you didn't talk about methodology. If you have a methodology to develop this paper, and what is that methodology? Then my question is, what is the methodology, one? And secondly, which specific entrepreneurship did you study, or which entrepreneurial location? Because whichever way is too broad. And let me conclude by saying that I teach, just like the knowledge, that Igbo entrepreneurship, all the grammar that Dr. Oji and Dr. Daniel are speaking here with the beautiful lady I'm seeing from the picture. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay, I think Dr. Kelechi wants to get some insights. These insights will build more, clarify some certain things for our audience, particularly the methodology that I think, Doc, thank you very much for this wonderful intervention. So you have the opportunity to respond to maybe the methodology aspect that was conspicuously missing in your presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you for the insights, And concerning the methodology that was employed was a qualitative, a historical and qualitative style of, methodology, which involves a descriptive and narrative, style. Interviews were conducted, persons like the innocent I was highlighting and Chikasin were interviewed, and other smaller business people, mostly in Nkwonewi, were interviewed, and their experiences were what informed, some of the ideas that were expatiated in the work. Then some, will I say, statistics and data, which is not included in what I presented, were gotten from the Nnewi Chamber of Commerce. There is a Chamber of Commerce in Nnewi. The data that we are gotten from there include the number of businesses that we have in Nnewi. Because Nnewi, if you look at most of the businesses that I mentioned there, most of them are situated in Nnewi. I use Nnewi as, as a case study. My study was based in Nnewi. Most of the businesses that I interviewed and studied are situated in Nnewi. So that's basically how I went about raising my data, and those were my sources. Now this informs the businesses. It was asking about the particular entrepreneurs, mostly businesses and the manufacturing company. Businesses in terms of traders. Most of them is either you are a trader buying and selling, or you are into manufacture. Not most of them are into manufacturing. It's just a few of them that are into manufacturing. Majority of them are into buying and selling. Thank you.
Okay. To buttress what Dr. Kelechi said, if you try to unbundle this topic, you will be getting close to 5 different papers that will stand on its own. For instance, you can do the comparative study between Innocent and Chikasin. You understand? You can as well also look at manufacturing activities in Nkwonewi. It gives you another. So, and I think also the scope can also guide you in determining the actual methodology that you will be using. Like a historical person or a historian that is looking at the paper, first we want to know which period are you looking at, because like Dr. Kelechi said, is broad. So if you take a pre-colonial, when you look at the manufacturing, this blacksmith in Oka or in Anambra, it's a standalone topic on its own. If you look at the colonial, here now you now talk about the likes of Olasi from Anambra, in the transportation era during the colonial period. You can also look at this man's father, Ojukwu Louis. You understand? That's what I'm trying to say is that if you're able to break the period you are looking at, it will give more vibe to the paper you are discussing. Now, coming down to the post-colonial, of course, you know that there are a lot to talk about in the post-colonial. And then what again do I want to say about this? Yeah, the broad. So if your methodology is on, maybe your scope is on Nnewi, and you say, okay, I'm studying Nnewi or I'm studying Onitsha, or which other cluster do we have, business industrial area in Anambra. You can decide to, okay, maybe Onitsha and Nnewi, you understand. So that will now inform whether you are, of course, there is no way you're not going to talk about ethnographic methods when you want to, because you are studying a particular people in the market. You understand? Then, yeah, you can also as well engage a participatory method where you, like when I was doing my fieldwork, my PhD fieldwork in Lagos, I was going to Ladipo Trade Fair, and I would dress like all these people when I was looking at the apprenticeship aspect. I would dress like one of the boys, that run around looking for customers and all that. That made me they endeared me to them, and they gave me lots of information and data that I used in writing my thesis. So you can also explore that possibility if it's to broaden to fine tune your work. Let it not be that it is the chairs that are taking over the conversation. Let's give our audience the opportunities to make their own interventions, ask questions that will help in fine-tuning these wonderful papers we have made. So if you have any questions or contribution, and indicate. Okay. All right. So we have the time, so we'll converse till we exhaust our time. Thank you very much, man.
Thank you, panelists. My name is Gloria Chuku. I want to commend you for your presentations, and I also want to advise you to listen to what Dr. Kelechi and the chairperson have said. Because as a historian, I'm a historian. When I heard your presentation, I was confused. Are you talking about the pre-colonial or the colonial or the modern time? And what region? Because Igbo society is too large. Then until at a point I begin to grasp that you are talking of Nnewi entrepreneurial culture. There are books on Nnewi entrepreneurs. One written in the 70s by a foreigner, I can't remember the name now, but I have a copy of that book. Then there is another one written by an English woman in 2000. I don't know the year. Focusing on Igbo entrepreneur, but the one written in the 70s was on Nnewi, the earliest Nnewi entrepreneurs. It can be the foundation for your work. Then you can talk about what the other two speakers have suggested. You can determine what you want to focus on because it's too broad. These days, micro studies prevail. Research grants and universities that recognize people who do micro studies. Based on micro studies, you can do comparative study too. But at this stage, it is important that you focus on a specific geography, which is Nnewi. Then choose your period. What period do you want to write on? For one who has written work on Igbo women, I don't know if you're familiar with Igbo women and economic transformation that I published in 2005, 4 and 5. It can serve also as a background because gender is missing in your discussion. I don't know if there are if there are women that have excelled in that culture of entrepreneurship within definitely in Igbo land, quite a good number of them. And again, when I heard that entrepreneurship system began during after the war, when and I asked myself, well, where did you get that information from? Maybe there was even apprenticeship. Apprenticeship didn't start. Yeah, I wrote apprenticeship here. It didn't start after the war. It has been a tradition that has been going on, especially during the colonial period when roads were constructed, railway lines were built, and Igbo people began to migrate to new cities, and they began to build communities. That's when the apprenticeship that they started in their homeland was exported to the diasporas, where they have communities. So it is important. So again, sources are important. If you don't have right sources, you cannot write right papers or strong papers. Your sources determine the quality of paper you write. Again, as the chair pointed out, if you want to work on contemporary period, you can still read works that focus on colonial era to build the context, because colonial legacies have impact on the post-colonial activities. And of course, you did mention the Nigeria-Biafra War. It was a major event in the people's life. It is also important to highlight how that war impacted the Nnewi entrepreneurial culture. Did it advance the culture? Did it hinder it? And what about the recent migratory efforts caused by the 1990s economic, late 1980s, 1990s economic hardships, and so forth? So there are a lot of questions and decisions you have to make in order to retouch your paper for publication. You don't have to bring in everything in one paper, because it will make that paper confusing and will not result to positive reception for presses and journals that publish the work. For the second presenter on Igbo community in Cotonou and of course remittances, some of the questions I have to deal with, although you did mention that the Igbo community in Cotonou began during the Nigeria-Biafra War. Is that correct? Okay, so there were existing diaspora community prior to the Nigeria-Biafra War, but the number increased. Okay, then the other question I have is issue of gender. Who migrated? Who were people sending remittances? Were there women? If women were involved, were there married women? Were there single women? What about generational differences? Were they in their 60s or 70s or 30s? Or because the generation differences also determine who migrated and who had the interest of looking back to help the loved ones behind. And of course, I'm glad you mentioned the type of economic activities and the type of trade they are engaged in. That is very important. But also, it's important to discuss how they raise their capital, how they expand their businesses, because if they're not doing well, they cannot be able to remit anything. It's when they're successful it's important to discuss the things that help them succeed. And this idea of Igbo commonality, which you mentioned, is crucial. They receive new ones, they help new ones start and also help new ones survive. And there may be other factors to explore that help them succeed in foreign land, and also navigating other cultural and linguistic barriers. Because Cotonou people don't speak English. It's a French-speaking city or town. So all those things, all those challenges that they have to navigate will be important to highlight in your paper to iterate the importance of the remittances. Because it's not everybody that is in the diaspora cares about the people behind. So there must be something in these individuals that engage in remittances. So these are a few things I wanted to highlight and commend you for your work.
Yes, thank you very much for this wonderful intervention. And good enough, as you were making your presentation, we were blessed with the presence of one of our own from the diaspora. So he will also make his intervention, and we will. Prof, you're welcome. All right, go ahead.
My name is Dr. Adeyemi from Olabi Sonobanjo University, an art historian from an applied department. In fact, I'm really blessed listening to the two presenters. In fact, they have really tried on the topic. Though they seem to work on their work. Start from the first presenter. Your work has to have a definite place that you are heading to, because the way you presented is that you are diverting to wider range. Those who have already already said that you try to see as the country topic and get more than 2 topics from it. Get your paper. But what I want you to know is this. When we are talking about history, we are particular with particular period and time. We are if you are talking about the ancient Igbo or entrepreneurship, let us know. Or you are comparing the ancient Igbo entrepreneurship with the contemporary or the modern one, let us know. I listen to one now. So you have to have a definite period, because we really deal with time. Are you listening to me now? In your topic, you can just say that maybe from colonial period to the present time, so we understood what you mean, what you are talking, what you are saying. So I'm also going by the way of those who have already commented before. Just look at the comments, see the way you can rework your topic, because your problems are from the topic. I used to see the way you can rework your topic, and now take a narrow, so I can able to work diligently on it. Thank God I said I use the descriptive method in order to get your data. You also do some interview. So your interview will not only limit to the Igbo land. You also come, I think we have a lot of Igbo everywhere. There's no time in Nigeria that I cannot find any Igbo, and they are really doing entrepreneurship. So try as much as possible, take 2 or 3, compare them with those of the colonial time. Let us see. So that's my own contribution. Thank you.
Very much. I hope
Dr. G. Okay.
So, Sister still have a question of
Thank you for giving me the opportunity.
Not really. I don't have a question, but I just want to throw more light on the presenter on Igbo culture entrepreneur. The author, what I want you to do, you know, any paper supposed to have that is supposed to, you are supposed to, the significance of any paper is very, very important. If it will add knowledge to the society. Now, if we are restructuring your topic, or if you want to onboard it, make sure that it adds knowledge to the society. That is very, very important. Then your problem statement is supposed to be sharp. What made you to go into this research? It's very, very important. Igbo culture. You look at the entrepreneur, the culture, is it, like we said, is this present age. How is the culture? And the previous time, if you are looking at pre-colonial era, what's the gap? What's the relationship? Because if your work did not add any knowledge to this society, it is an issue. And why did you go into Igbo culture? Igbo culture and entrepreneurship is very, very important. What is happening now? What has people done so far about it? Because you're not the only person that has done that. Maybe people have done it in different areas. Maybe this person has done it in this area, this person has in this area. Your gap will come up. What do you intend to do? What is the problem this paper is going to solve to the society? These are the questions you will ask to yourself. If you're able to answer all these questions, you can now organize your work very, very well. I just want to make my own contribution so that when you present, you see that this work it has focus. Anybody that's read it will learn a lot from it. And what's the problem this work is going to solve? Because any research has a problem to be solved in society. If you're making a research, you are just not to say that, you know, want us to know about it. But there is a problem in your heart that made you to go into this work. That problem, you need to specify it in your work and the significance, who are going to be the beneficiaries of this work. And if you're able to you know, streamline and organize it very well, this work will be a very good work. And everybody that looks at the topic would like to know more about the work and know what you want to discuss about it. Thank you very much.
You want to make notes? All right. Thank you very much. Dr. Kelechi, you can now.
Okay, thank you very much. I want to comment on Uchechukwu's paper, Chima, Informal Igbo Diaspora Remittances, Lifeline to Homeland Economic Development. The problem I have with the paper is with the structure of the paper. The paper has a focus, but the flow of the paper was where I was having challenge. She started with the push and pull factor, which I believe will make a very beautiful theoretical framework for the study right immediately after the introduction. And then she went back to the types of remittances, formal and informal, and then the currency used by the remittances before explaining the markets where the Igbo business people are found, which I felt should come earlier in the introduction, the Mesebo and the Semekpoji market. The goods also sent, because initially she was emphasizing SEPA. It was almost at the conclusion that she also told us importantly, which I was waiting to listen, that the remittances are not only in cash flows, but includes electronics includes okreka utensils, cars, and then the impact in building houses, which is something very fundamental for the Igbo man, supporting funeral rites. I would encourage the work to flow from an introduction into a theoretical conceptual review / methodology, where it clearly tells us how this data was gathered from Mesebo markets and Semikpoji markets and possible Igbo origins or nativity of the respondents, where the remittance will go back to, and then the forms of transmission, which she will discuss extensively, the financial transmission, the transmission of goods. I even believe that in the course of such discussion, the transmission of goods, electronics, okreka utensils, and cars may even carry more weight down here because people don't know who received money, but people will easily know that the car came from Mesebo market. And then finally, the impact of these things and conclusion. By and large, I believe this paper have very strong promises of academic scholarship. Thank you very much. I also forget to say that as my brother Doc was talking about Nkwo market, I just remember the work I abandoned somewhere because Nkwo Nnewi is one of the biggest markets in Igbo land. And then I remembered I went sometime when we did a work on Think Home policy on Innocent and his car project. I went and began to do a study of my local village market because I felt people had been studying big markets. Maybe, Oji, we need to do that because when the scholar behind was talking, you know, I got angry that the emphasis is always on the very powerful ones. We also need to study the local ones. And I think it will make an interesting study. I have the data just to brush it up. Thank you very much. God bless you.
Thank you very much. So we'll give the big master opportunity to make his intervention. Thank you very much, Prof.
Well, I apologize for being late because I didn't even listen to the presentation. So I also have to apologize ahead of time because of the comment that will be so general. But also, so, but for me, I've always been fascinated by the Igbo entrepreneurship culture, its history, its evolution, and its challenges. It's always been a fascinating topic for me. I think that, you know, what the field, at least my field of African history, in my opinion, or Nigerian history specifically, is lacking. I've always felt like it's lacking a definitive history of Igbo entrepreneurship culture or history. We don't have that definitive history that you can pick up and read and get a sense, like a broad overview of what constitutes and what really goes into the making of this culture. So it's something that I would like to read. I will buy such a book and I will read it. The other thing that has always fascinated me is this Nnewi. Everybody is talking about Nnewi. I see photos, I see write-ups on Nnewi. I see all the biographical write-ups on the billionaires and millionaires and entrepreneurs, all these prominent entrepreneurs. I see Nnewi as a city, an urban space, or however you want to describe, that punches above its weight economically and in terms of entrepreneurship. But I've never been there, so it's always held this fascination for me. I've always wanted to read a book. Let me pick up a book and read about. So that's another book that I would like to see in the field, a book specifically focused on that Nnewi entrepreneurship tradition. Because it seems like there's something unique about Nnewi. There's the Igbo entrepreneurship tradition, but then there's the Nnewi tradition, which I think has to be theorized separately. I don't know, because you go, the pictures that I've seen, these kinds of things that I've seen in Nnewi just tells me that there's a lot going on there that scholars have not quite grappled with. But I would like to make a few comments briefly and quickly to sort of just general comments since I didn't listen to the, and because I came in when Professor Chukwu was speaking, and I agree with a lot of the comments she made actually, and I want to align myself with a lot of the questions that she raised for you guys to consider, especially in regards to papers like this being too broad and focusing it more, narrowing it down, and doing micro history. Especially, I think entrepreneurship history particularly lends itself to micro historical approaches. Other topics you can take a broad approach, but when it comes to entrepreneurship, it has to be grounded in people, in biographies, in specific things, and in specific traditions. So I think that's what I just wanted to second her point, to underscore the point that she was making when I came in. The other thing that I want you to consider, both of you, both authors, is to look at innovation as entrepreneurship, not to have a narrow definition or approach to entrepreneurship in terms of goods and trade and profit make. Innovation is very broad, but innovation can take many forms. Not all innovations are calculated to make a profit, are calculated for profit making. Not all of them involve tangible or material goods. Some of them are knowledge-based. So I want you to extend your narrative of Igbo entrepreneurship culture to embrace or to include innovation. But I want you also to look at uncommon and unconventional entrepreneurs, people who are not so visible, people who are not so, in our popular language, we don't normally regard as entrepreneurs. People who do uncommon things, but they are innovative in their own ways, even in the domestic sector, in the home, where, in Cotonou, where the diaspora, they are talking, there are all kinds of, I think we should extend our lens outwards from the obvious, the obvious is you go to Alaba market, you see people selling and buy. That's too obvious. So what will make your work unique? Another thing that will make your work unique is when you bring out the biographies and the life histories of people doing uncommon things and staking out uncommon territories and innovative spaces, and things that people may not readily be familiar with. So I think you should extend your lens to that realm as well. The other thing that I would like to see reflected in both of your works is the connection between adversity and innovation. Okay, I'm rounding up. Don't worry, just one more minute. Adversity and innovation. What's the connection between hardship, adversity, the war, the experience of the war, and innovation? I want you also to look at non-monetary remittances. That is for the second present, the Chima. Non-monetary remittances, knowledge as remittance, knowledge. What kind of knowledge are they bringing back? What kind of ideas are they bringing back? Okay, that are unquantifiable, but are very impactful and consequential. I also want you to look at pipeline, the creation of pipeline as remittance, the creation of pipeline to enable new migrants to arrive and for people to go back and forth. That infrastructure of movement, of mobility, is another form of remittance. It doesn't involve money sometimes it does, but that's very significant. So these are my quick, random, general comments on these papers.
Okay. We are being told that we have exhausted our time, and I want to believe that we have a very good engagement and conversation. I wish you to talk to the panel. Yeah. So, Dr. Kelechi, we also, and also every member of this panel, we are blessed with the presence of one of the editors of the African History Journal, right? Journal of African History. So some of these works we can push to that journal, and of course, their panel that I participated yesterday, they promised both timely and favorable consideration in most of the journal articles that they will be receiving. So, Prof, thank you very much for this.